4, 3, 2, 1.
You are now listening to Tribbles and Ecstasy, a production of Holosuite Media. Tune in to our live show every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This is Admiral James T. Kirk of Federation Starship Enterprise. Your presence here is an act of war. You have 2 minutes to surrender your crew and your vessel, or we will destroy you.
Admiral Kirk, this is your opponent speaking. Do not lecture me on treaty violations, as this broadcast is intended for mature audiences. In the following podcast, there will be thoughts and opinions expressed that in no way reflect your Federation, this station, website, or affiliated partners.
Who is this? How dare you?
Who I am is not important. Listener discretion is.
Klingon bastard.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyagers of the starship Tribbles. Her ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new content and new stuff, to follow the girl where no podcast has gone before.
Another night of Tribbles and Ecstasy. Hey, 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 hey! Hey, 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 hey!
Hello and welcome to episode 155 of Tribbles and Ecstasy. I'm your host MidNite Shadow, and with me today is DrTrekkie.
Hello everyone.
Sunseahl.
Hello.
We've got Woody.
G'day everyone.
And we have Xander.
Hello, everybody.
And we have two guests with us today. We have Larry Nemecek. Welcome back. This is where you talk, Larry.
Guys, I can't believe this is episode 155. It doesn't feel a thing like more than episode 150.
How are you doing?
All good, all good. Thank you for having us on today.
That's good. And of course, you mentioned us because with you is another member of the Enterprise in Space team, is Lynne Zielinski. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. Glad to be here.
Hi, Lynne.
Hi.
How are ya?
I am fine. This is a real pleasure.
You haven't built a shrink ray yet, have you?
Not yet. I got the kids working on it, though.
See, I didn't have to warn Lynne about what Tribbles in Ecstasy was like because she's survived a bunch of our EIS team phone call meetings.
Oh.
Excellent.
So we're going to have to work extra good this time, huh? We want to be memorable.
Want to be? You are memorable. Come on, guys.
Oh, we have to be. You know, you've graced us, the Godfather of Star Trek, for 13. Going on 13 interviews now.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No, he's not kidding.
I thought it was like 3 or 4.
No, it's
Jeez.
But okay, we've had you several times by yourself. We've also had you with different projects like Terrence Cassidy from the Geek Easy Tours, Geek Nation Tours.
Geek Easy Tours, that's the big competition. Yeah, no,
that's one of our other shows, actually.
Oh.
And yeah, with Star Trek Continues and a bunch of other projects too. So,
but today I
I
want to make sure everybody knows that we're here for Enterprise in Space, and
Exactly.
that's why we're graced with Lynne's presence. Lynne, our superstar education chief.
Woohoo!
Now, did you guys want to tell people, because of course when you're with us at Christmas and previously you've sort of mentioned Enterprise in Space, but for people who are new to the show and haven't heard about Enterprise in Space, do you want to let people know what Enterprise in Space is all about?
Yeah, take it, Lynne.
Enterprise in Space is our 5-year mission, is to send student experiments aboard an 8-foot spacecraft in orbit around the Earth and to bring them back. And we're looking at possibly 100 or more student experiments from around the world.
Wow.
I thought you'd say that.
And to honor all the inspiring science fiction and science fact people from Gene and Heinlein and Isaac Asimov, Werner von Braun, Robert Goddard, you know, everyone around the country, around the world, to honor all of that as the inspiration for what we face going into the future, we decided to name the ship what, Lynne?
The Enterprise. And formally, because it's with the National Space Society, the NSS Enterprise.
Just so there's no mistaking, yeah. Because and we love to say Sean Case, who was Sean on in December? Oh, I've done so many. I hate to say that. We've done so many together. It was Sean's idea to say it's a shame there's never been a real Enterprise in space with all that name means to people. Even before the Star Trek Enterprises, the carriers, the naval ships. It's always been a proud, it's always been a proud name for exploration and for, sailing into the future, sailing into tomorrow. So that was inspiration.
It got close with the Enterprise, the model. It didn't go into space.
Shuttle?
It was the test shuttle. Yeah.
Right. It did get very close. In fact, there are hot air balloons and high altitude balloons that have been named Enterprise, as well as aircraft, as well as, the old sailing vessels and the giant aircraft carriers. And they've all borne the name Enterprise, and many of them have done exploration, which is really kind of the nifty part of the whole thing. So this is a tribute to all those real and imagined ships named Enterprise.
But you guys know what this means, because once you launch your ship, we're going to have a Kickstarter or something to raise the money to digitally alter all the scenes where the Enterprises are shown to add your ship.
Especially that epic, iconic one at the end of season 4 Enterprise, where it has, Space of Final Frontier. They do the whole thing, montage of all the Enterprises. Yeah, your ice will be their forefront.
Right, but they don't have a flying aircraft carrier though, so.
Well, it's Captain Archer's ready, or like his quarters, right? Like in the Star Trek motion picture, in the Admiral's desk in Into Darkness. We're gonna have to stick your ship into all those scenes. So I hope you're thinking about that.
Okay, we'll put you guys in charge of that.
Because yours will actually fly in space. So the line must be drawn here, and no farther. What about father?
Yeah.
What's really cool is that we do have a brand new ship design for the Enterprise. Back in November and December. Actually, Enterprise in Space, let me start at the beginning, was launched officially in October. And so although our team has been working on it for a number of years, we didn't officially go public until October. And right after that, in November and December, we had a design contest for anybody in the world to design the ship. And we had the entries, and we had public voting, and the ship has been determined to be really, really cool. So you need to, if you haven't gone to our website, enterpriseinspace.org, to see the winning ship design. It's really cool.
I'll just put the link into our chats for people.
And the interview with Stanley von Medvey, who is the winner of the ship design contest, is really neat because, and Larry, you could probably say this because you interviewed him, but he actually made it so that it could become a real ship.
Yeah, he threw me at first. We were talking to him. So yeah, we had the design contest. We had lots of entries. We had a public voting round. We needed to get the ship designed pretty early on to get on with having it, designed and fabricated. And I almost hated there we go. I almost hated having it come up as early as it did because I wanted to make sure as many people and around the world knew about it as possible. But we still had a great batch of entries. We had public voting on the site, and then we had a blue ribbon panel of 5 judges from the real aeronautics and space industry and kind of the sci-fi art and design side of things. Tobias Richter, some of you guys may know that name. Visual effects was one of our judges. And Stanley's design won. And if you're watching if you can go to our site, or if you're watching live right now, when you're hearing this, we were interviewing him, and he started talking about how the design included magnetic rings that rotated opposite each other to create gravity, and how the ship was under this blue-gray metallic translucent glass. And I'm like, wait, this is just all in the 8-foot orbiter? And he's like, no, I designed this to be blown up for to be scaled up for 150 people. But no, we're still flying. Ours is just 8 feet. I'd love to send 150 people into orbit, but 150 students or whatever. That's probably down the road. That's at least the second go around, right, Lynne?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But no, it is very cool. So even though it's only 8 feet, he's put lots of detail into it. And even though the contest set out that it had to practically, because we said student experiments, we're talking like over 100 minimum.
Yeah.
And it had to have big enough, internal volume to do that. Some of them will be small, some of them will be larger. Some may trail out the back on a tether. But whatever, it has to be big enough to accommodate that. But we also said, hey, let your imagination run wild in the design. Let us worry about tailoring it, because it will re-enter. It's going to test bed some whatever re-entry technology we decide to use it, so that it can come back and go on display and go on tour, which is another fun part of this. But so we ask all the designers to don't just think of a cone or a cylinder, but do something with it. And Stanley really did. I mean, it's got profiles and tops. I mean, it's as cool as any spacecraft or fictional starship or anything, the way it turns and looks. So you see that image and people are immediately drawn in, and it's just it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I voted for that one. It's one of my favorite. I think there was one other one too that I really liked.
Thanks for jumping in and being part of the voting.
Really exciting about that. Yeah, we had a number of them that had to be disqualified along the way, unfortunately, because of this, that, or the other. And so, a couple of the top designs that we really, really liked couldn't make it to the finals, fortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it was just having to enforce the rules as they were said. But the bottom line was we had some really earnest ones that are obviously junior artists, to put it lightly. But that's what we wanted. That's what Sean wanted. He wanted everybody to feel like they could enter something and be there and be in the public voting. And a lot of the entrants, and we have 2 formal runners up. We have a first and second runner up. And we want to have them on and talk to them too, because even though this is the craft we're going to fly, we want to thank everybody that got in, and some of the designs were incredible, and some of the design process behind them was, was worth sharing. And that's part of what the whole program is, because later on we're going to have a mission design patch contest. We have a lot of outreach, and which the biggest piece of the outreach is what Lynne is in charge of. And we've talked about that before, but now you got the horse's mouth here. Oh wait, that didn't come out right.
Nay. Nay. Yeah, and what's interesting is that one of the winners is actually a graduate student, I believe, or undergraduate student. I can't remember, in engineering, wants to be an engineer. So we're going to actually engage him in working with our team to design this particular, the real nitty-gritties of this machine, which is going to be so cool. And so I'm really excited that we're actually going to be getting students involved in the building and the construction, because that's one of the goals that I really wanted to have for the whole project, is to get students involved as much and as often as possible along the way. And the public too. I mean, not just the kids, because we're going to have an Enterprise in Space Academy. We're going to have an Enterprise in Space educator emissary program for teachers, for the STAR teachers that are going to be in our program. And we're going to have community groups as well. And so we're going to be doing all sorts of outreach in a lot of ways. And I'm really excited about all the different ways that we're going to be doing these kinds of things. So you want me to get into the nitty gritty right now, or you guys want to play?
Lynne, I wanted to ask you a question, because this is actually sort of my day job, is science education. And I was really interested in what you guys were planning for the experiments in space, and how you would say they're different from, you know, all the stuff we heard in the past about school experiments going up with shuttles and sitting on the ISS. Is it more volume and opportunity that you guys are offering with just this orbiter being packed to the gills with them? Or is there something special and unique you guys are hoping to do that those previous experiments didn't?
I let Lynne answer this, but you should know she has overseen a lot of those already in different projects and programs. So yeah, she's got a good, yeah.
Okay, so to go to my background first, to answer your question, I have been a physics, space science, and astronomy teacher for 32 years, and I retired in 2011. And in the process of being a full-time teacher, I took sabbaticals, I worked at NASA, I worked with NASA Johnson Space Center, and I also worked with UC Berkeley, and we sent rockets into the Aurora, and we did spacecraft that way. But when I came back home from some of these different sabbaticals, I brought stuff for the kids to do. And what we ended up doing was creating a program called Gadget at the high school, and it was Glenbrook North High School in Illinois. And in Gadget, students could design experiments to fly aboard the shuttle. And so we flew 6 times on the space shuttle, and we've flown 9 times in NASA suborbital rockets out of Wallops Island, Virginia. So we've had a lot of experience with different sized passive and active experiments that, you know, have flown, which with incredible STEM education before STEM was even a word, which is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so we're adding an A to that. We're adding the arts, the liberal arts. So that includes music, dance, English, history, all of those things. So we're making it, instead of STEM education, STEAM education. So we're going to STEAM ahead. And the idea is to really engage people in all disciplines. And we're talking K through university. So one of the differences in that the experiments and things that are currently being flown or that have been flown by NASA is that they've always pretty much been from about high school level up. So we're going to engage kids from grade school level up. And we can do that in a lot of different ways, because I've had people say, how are you going to get a second grader to do an experiment that's meaningful in the space shuttle or stuff like that? And the answer is, well, let's talk to some elementary school teachers and find out. So I did. And as a matter of fact, from our experiments, opportunities, we've actually been able to have students in the younger grades piggyback using passive experiments on our active experiments. And what I mean when I say passive and active is passive does not require any kind of power at all, but active experiments do. So you could have kids, and I think the most typical one that's probably most well known around the world are to send seeds in orbit. I think way back in the early 80s, they sent tomato seeds, and then later on in the 90s, I believe NASA sent Fast Plant. It's a plant that grows fast. And so, you know, students have done that sort of thing, and they've passed these out to educators. But what's really not happened is a lot of the follow-up, where the teachers and the kids actually show what they've done with this stuff and done presentations or videos or papers or been published or anything like that. And a lot of the work that kids do was really amazing. I think we underestimate our kids an awful lot. So the second graders that I worked with, they sent up a variety of vegetable seeds from vegetable garden. And so they created a community space garden in their school yard. And they had the community members come in with little kids, and all summer long, they planted the seeds. They used a control group that never flew, and then the group that flew. And then they were able to do measurements, and they reported on those measurements. And we actually put all that stuff up on, you know, the kids' school's website and our website at the high school. And it was really neat. So you can have kids doing all sorts of neat things like that. But if you go up to, let's say, the next level, let's say middle school or something, where the kids have a little more cognitive ability, they could plant those seeds in Mars simulant soil, Moon simulant soil, Earth soil, and do comparisons that way in the different growing conditions. And then you can move that up to high school and college level and do even more sophisticated stuff with just a passive experiment. And that's really, really kind of exciting to be able to do it in all those different venues in all those different ways. And then to share those results. Elementary kids have also done things like sending sand, you know, in the American Indians, they have those sand paintings that they do, and they layer the different colors. And the kids wanted to know how the gravitational effects would change their sand painting. So they made a test tube with sand painting in it. And then before and after flight, they took pictures of it to see how it looked at the different stages of flight and how the sand mixed and stuff like that. So some really creative things can come from kids, and that also, you know, are really of interest to the general public. It's like, wow, I didn't realize that gravity and, you know, during launch is that much larger than regular gravity, you know, and it's going to do this to you. So that's cool. Now, in terms of active experiments, one of the differences between what's going on now and what's been done is back in the day when I was sending experiments aboard the space shuttle, you had about, if you think of an oil drum and you slice it in half vertically, so now you have half a cylinder. And then you take about 4 inches of that cylinder and you put an experiment in there, in that space. That is typically what would fly on the space shuttle in something that we called a getaway special canister or gas can, which is also known as the shuttle experiment module. And so students would be able to put anything they wanted into that space and send it aboard. And that's a pretty large space compared to anything that's going up in commercial space today. You know, NanoRacks has their glow sticks and their 1 cubic centimeter experiments. They also have CubeSats. CubeSat is actually an international effort that was started by Bob Twiggs a number of years ago because he thought it would be cool to have 10 centimeter cubes and you put an experiment inside of it, and then those cubes started to grow into 2 cubes and 3 cubes and 4 cubes. I think they're up to like 6 cubes now in some of these commercial space efforts. But they're very sophisticated. And you want to be able to reach, our group wants to be able to reach kids in all different levels. So we want them to be able to do things that are very simple as well as things that are complex along the way. So we're going to have things from test tube size to glow stick size to 1 cubic centimeter size, all the way to experiments that are as big as what we flew on the shuttle and sometimes even larger. Because, you know, if a student needs to have, let's say, do a resonance experiment to resonate sand or a liquid to see the pattern that it makes in microgravity, then it might need to be 2 foot long or 3 foot long, and we will be able to accommodate that. So this is a long answer to your short question, but I think you can see that the possibilities for what we can do and will be doing are going to be quite robust and broad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean, I figured it was more about the numbers of opportunities that you guys are going to be able to offer, which is amazing because yeah, I'm fully aware of the previous experiments were highly constricted, but this sounds like sort of a huge cornucopia of possibilities for schools, and I'm always in favor of increasing those opportunities, especially connected to space and space education. So it's great.
Do you see now why Lynne won the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching, the Krista McAuliffe Memorial Award, the Tandy Technology Scholar in Science Teaching, the John F. Kennedy Award for Courage, the NASA NSIP Hall of Fame Award, and was NASA's National Space Educator of the Year twice? And I feel like that the recorder in court martial when it's rattling off with all of Kirk's awards and things, and and they cut it off, and then he says, "No, I'd like it to run on for a while." So Lynne, it's hard for Lynne to talk about that stuff, but that's why it's. And I say we and all this, guys. They got. I think I mentioned this in December. They got Sean Case, the founder, who put all this team together. And we hadn't even mentioned Fred Becker, who's a former NASA engineer working on everything from the late Skylab and the shuttles through a lot of the planetary craft. And he worked on the Pluto New Horizons. It's finally about to get to Pluto and open up. I mean, we've got so many great people that Sean was able to find off of his crazy idea of, gee, there really should be a real enterprise in space that's really in space, and it should do some real work and honor, you know, sci-fi and sci-fact people and do something for the future in a grassroots global kind of way. And but now you see, and Lynne, you should talk about the team that you're getting, because she's not doing all this herself. She could, but we'd have to clone her. But
Heavens, no. I think I'd go crazy if I didn't have a team of people. I actually have 4 really great people on my team right now, and I'm trying to increase the education team as much as I can, as quickly as I can, because there's just so many different aspects of the program for us to work on. But I have Bonnie Thurber, who is from Northwestern University, and she has something called the iCollaboratory, which is a place where we can put the teachers and students in a password protected environment so they can't have lurkers or anything like that. And it's kind of like its own little intranet where we'll be able to put up lessons and have teachers and kids put up their own stuff in this area, some of which we can make public, some of which we have to keep inside so that the kids, you know, are well protected. I have Kate Meredith, who does work with Sloan Digital Sky Survey and Yerkes Observatory, and she's done a lot of really great curriculum development and videos and stuff like that associated with astronomy and space sciences. I have as our intermediate grade level teacher is Frances Delutri, and she's just this really great teacher who has done amazing stuff with kids in the classroom and education. And then I have Susan York, who's our elementary level team coordinator. She's actually the 2nd grade teacher that I was talking about that had experiments fly with me so many years ago. And she was so excited when she heard about this. She goes, "Oh, please, 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 can I, please." And so I'm looking for people to help volunteer in creating our education teacher program, our emissary program. Get it? Emissaries?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. Just checking. And so I need, you know, qualified people who know how to work with teachers and help develop teacher workshops, because we do want to have teacher training. A lot of teachers and students believe that in order for you to do something like this, you have to have, a big math science background, and you have to be on that track, you know, to be able to work with NASA or stuff like that? And the answer to that is no, you don't, because we're going to need people of all kinds working in all different areas, especially if, you know, we're thinking about really living and working in space and doing space settlement. We're going to need gardeners and lawyers and politicians. And
you sure about the lawyers?
Yeah, but you can always put them out in the airlock, you know. They don't behave themselves.
When we live in the world of 2015, yes, we need lawyers on our side. But even guys, when you think about it, space law is, I mean, a few years ago, like 10 years ago, there was an interesting bunch of lawyers, and I think I'd see, you know, there's geeks in every profession, and really to cut some lawyers some slack. And I remember when we had Communicator magazine with the fan club that there were some lawyers who were presenting at a legal conference like the law of Star Trek, and they were looking at, when we saw law in Star Trek, what, you know, what kind of a world, future world that was. But bringing it back closer in, we're going to be mining asteroids and maybe divvying up resources on the moon or Mars, and we're going to start butting heads over, you know, unless we have a perfectly unified world by then, we're going to be having people maybe have disagreements about exactly how to go at that. So those are all, you know, those are all things to think about. But part of this is, Sean reminds everybody about this, and it's true. It's like every wave of exploration, you always had the lone wolf, you know, the soldier or the scout or the explorer off there. But eventually, the waves that came in behind them, you know, it was more and more. You had the crazy families who would take off on the wagon trains because they were desperate or they really wanted to get away. But eventually, everything settled in to where you had people of every stripe, had the community and had the civilization there, and that's eventually what's going to happen in space. So a lot of, from what Lynne's talking about, the experiments, just to who's welcome to jump in at all levels and help us, you know, and volunteer. Because a lot of yeah, like you were saying, like the kids saying, hey, I'm not in the math and science track, how can I get in? Well, it's also the same thing. Well, hey, I'm not an engineer or a scientist, how can I help with EIS? We need everybody from, you know, people to people that have specific skills like marketing or legal or social media that would want to help us on the team level, at the executive level, down to we need lots of people on the ground at events and talking to groups and that kind of thing, or sitting at home with their computers helping us with social media very quietly, or even people to take flyers to, you know, sci-fi cons or public meetings or state fairs or teacher conferences or something. So anybody, the one common thread of all the group, the team, because they represent a lot of different aspects, the one common thread from there is everybody comes at what they do with a great love of some of the sci-fi and the sci-fact that has inspired them. And so they don't mind putting in a little sweat equity or putting in a little, you know, some of this and paying it forward with that as an inspiration, because we're all going to be going into the future, whether we're engineers and astronauts or not.
And that's a good point. It's a good time right now, actually, to bring up the fact that we do have a volunteer page on the Enterprise in Space website. So you can go there if you feel like you want to volunteer, and, you know, if you have a special skill or if you just want to plug in. I mean, a lot of our team are from around the world. You don't have to be in America. In fact, our project manager, Alice Hoffman, lives in Chile half the year. And she's amazing. She has done the O'Hare Airport expansion as a multi-billion-dollar project. She has also done the Soldier Field, you know, the Chicago Bears, the Soldier Field redesign of the whole thing, and ran that program as well. So she's used to dealing with multi-billion-dollar projects. So, you know, that's just part of where we're coming from. So yeah, the volunteer page is out there for everybody to come and help.
Yeah, I've just put the link in our chat, and it'll be in our show notes as well.
So what sort of international response you had to this so far?
Well, it's great. Here we're gonna have an odd little bird thing coming up. Now we've had you know, right out of the gate, I've kind of followed. There's two tracks on this. One is our science gate, like India, China, some of the foreign countries that are actually building their own space programs, and they've got a population that's there, and if we can reach them, if that involves translating, we're getting there. We've had some translations of our website, at least the homepage, out of the gate. We have Japan, Germany, We have a Czech and Italian working, Spanish, obviously, just for sheer numbers. And we're building on that. On the other side that we're trying to take advantage of is, the sci-fi and Star Trek angle. And we've been on podcasts and been in some magazines and websites and news sites in Germany and the UK and the Czech Republic and what else?
Japan.
And Japan. So we're getting there. I mean, our goal is to be global. There's a lot of practicality to make that happen. But that's where we can use volunteers when people pick this up and because the reach of, we say sci-fi, and a lot of sci-fi is dystopian, looking to the future, and it's post-apocalyptic, and that's great drama and all that. But it's not the same thing as the sci-fi that's like inspires people, like Star Trek and some of the other greats that have come up with. So people that keep that in their back pocket, and that's just the world they expect to happen, and if in their own little way they can help move that along, because that's what inspires them, no matter what they do with their day jobs in their real life. They just expect that's where we will go, kind of the silent majority.
And in fact, right now, Bonnie Thurber is in Nepal for 6 weeks doing education programs and bringing Enterprise in space to them out there in Nepal.
Nepal being like in the Himalayas, on the border between India and China. Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So obviously he's not going to put any advertisements up on Mount Everest about it, is he?
No.
Now I do have a question when you're talking about the seeds. The doing that in the yard. I don't know. I wanted to ask a question earlier. Was there a difference between the space seeds, and the controlled seeds?
Yes, there was. In fact, in every single case, the space seeds grew better.
Yeah.
They were smarter. They were faster. They were stronger.
They were
I think
augmented.
they just got more radiation, actually.
They were augmented by gravity.
It's all that cosmic radiation.
Yeah.
Yeah, cosmic radiation. We
Did
believe
they
that
taste
was
better?
The reason. The taste test was the same, I think. I don't remember if the kids actually
Got superpowers?
had superpowers. Yeah, I don't think they came up with any of those.
It was really sad, though, when they had to end that program. Do you remember, Lynne, when one of the seeds jumped up out of the ground, ran over and picked up a big lead pipe and bashed a farmer in the head with it, and they had to send them all to City Alpha 6. It was really sad.
Oh, shucks. How long were the? I'm sorry. This is the first I've heard of that. I'm fascinated with it. How long were they in space? Those seeds.
Well, they flew on the space shuttle, so they were from about 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks.
Wow, that's cool. Was that during that? Obviously, that was before the germination period, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. They were.
Yeah.
They were, just seeds, little packets of seeds. I've also had kids do plant root growth in active experiments. They actually tried to use aeroponics, which is kind of like hydroponics on gas. So just spraying, misting moist air to grow. And they wanted to see how the roots, because it wasn't a long enough time to actually grow the plant, but it was long enough to see how the roots grew. And
right,
so, what?
I was going to say, this is like what Kess had the first couple of years of Voyager. They had aeroponics gardens on Voyager. Yeah.
At the aeroponics bay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the space seeds there, did any chance that you experimented by let them listen to Jackson 5? Oh, good. I'm glad you got it. I was thinking you guys ain't gonna get it. But glad you
The next question is: was one named Groot?
That's it.
I am Groot.
Well, it would be now. Okay, I'm gonna be stupid here. I'm gonna pop my own bubble. I'm trying to get the Jackson 5 reference to the seeds. What am I missing?
If you watch the closing credits of the last movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, Groot is in his little flower pot dancing back and forth to Jackson 5.
Jackson 5.
Oh, I was thinking lyrics. I was like, good grief. Okay, I was racing through every Jackson 5 song I could think of, trying to. But yeah, duh.
Well, it could be ABC.
Yeah. Speaking of the arts, in fact, in music, that's something else that we can do with the student experiments. This isn't just for science geeky kids. This is for your creative types too. One of the things that I've had students do is take the data from pressure, temperature, vibration, acceleration, all of those different types of things, and have them take those numbers and put them to musical notes and musical instruments and create symphonies based on just the data. And so that's one of the competitions that we're going to be doing, is to create space music based on, you know, whatever data the kids want to take. Another thing that I want to be able to do is have art created. And there's a lot of different ways that we've done it, at least with the stuff that I've done with kids. And that is, you can just send up art materials like paints and paper and color pencils and stuff like that. And we did this little project with Portugal and Morocco where we did postcards from the edge of the world. And we gave them the materials that had flown in space. And the idea was to express how those materials felt when they were in orbit around the Earth. And then the kids had to, you know, do a little bit of writing, as well as the artwork. And then we did postcards and we exchanged them between the 3 countries. And it was really kind of a neat experience of getting everybody engaged. And then we've also done things where we've painted, you know, Johannes Kepler, which is really cool, did the Harmony of the Spheres, which is a musical composition done to his third law. And it's basically the orbits based on the orbits of the planets. And so it's like modern music. Like Mercury is like, woo, 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 woo. And then, you know, Venus is like, whoa, whoa. You know, and then you've got Jupiter going, whoa, 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 whoa. And so you put all this together and it's all this like, you know, and it's like this really weird, bizarre thing.
Lynne's
pulling on Oprah.
Yeah.
Lynne Zielinski here all weekend. Tip your waiters, kids.
And this is recorded too.
And who would have known that Johannes Kepler, you know, dealt in modern music? I mean, it was just so cool. And so we took that music, and I had the kids that were in the science classes talk about the science, you know, of Kepler's laws and stuff like that. And then the art kids went and taught the physics kids a little bit about the basics of art. And so then what we did is we had the kids create artwork, and we played Kepler's music. So that was their inspiration. We also had a professional artist by the name of Jim Stallings who paints music. And he's the guy that goes up on stage and actually paints to symphony orchestras and jazz bands and stuff like that, and then sells his art based on the music that he paints. And so we had him help mentor the kids and talk to the kids about painting music and how to do that. And we've got these really great pieces of artwork that came from the kids and from Jim himself. He actually did a painting with Kepler's music in Las Vegas for us. And that was really neat. So we want to do things like that where we engage people, you know, inside and outside of the sciences to collaborate and do some really neat things.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that strikes me, and again, Lynne's been working on this for 2 or 3 years. Sean just reached out to me a year ago and said, hey, would you be a name on our board and help us promote? And I said, okay. And then 6 months ago said, hey, would you be like our chief promoter, or, you know, kind of chief spokesman, especially on the sci-fi and the con fan side and the celebrities and all. And I said, sure. But part of this is all these people involved, aside from that inspirational part, and I've said this many times, I was a NASA kid before I was a Star Trek kid. So everybody remembers, or people of the generation, and it followed through into the shuttle era too. People remember like being a kid and stopping what you were doing, and everybody ran in the house to watch the latest like launch. There'd be one every 2 or 3 months, like during the Mercuries and Geminis and Apollos and the early shuttles and the Skylab. And and we talk about, and Lynne's a teacher, and she's on the front line, has been for a long time, and works on these kids. But a lot of us, it's almost like you can't bring back the past and have everything be exactly the same again. But we would like to do something that creates that same kind of excitement just in everyday living rooms, in classrooms around the country and around the world, and have something that people can get in. So all the programs, the education is the obvious one, but everything, the reach outs on the contests and the competitions we have, and just talking about this, and people who, whatever their day job is, they're not a rocket scientist, they're not an engineer, they're not going to get to work on, on a craft or work at NASA, but they want to do what they can because they know that's where we're headed, and they want to get us there as fast as we can. And maybe that's what our sponsor, the National Space Society, that's what they're about, is everybody, no matter what you do, saying, hey, the future is in space, let's get on with it, let's get on with it. And part of what EIS is about is coming back and bringing some of that grassroots, top to bottom excitement for people. And so having the kids at all levels, and their parents, and the people around them, and just everybody, everybody involved, having something to be excited about. And the bottom line here, we've been talking about all this in the volunteers, is it's kind of like the pack lids. We need something to make it go. And I'm not talking about the rocket engines. So Sean had this idea that to be as grassroots as possible, if it has a budget of about, and this could be dropping as things keep improving and costs keep coming down, but right now it has a budget of about $40 million, which, as Sean says, makes people stop until you realize that one person doesn't have to have $40 million in their back pocket. And if you really want to have the notion of crowdfunding, it's like, forget Indiegogo and Kickstarter and all that. How about saying, as Sean started saying, 2 million people around the world give $20 and we're there. So we have some big ticket people hopefully going to give us some grants, give us some awards. Rod Roddenberry's already given us a very nice cash startup gift to help us get started. We're working on several other ones, but Sean again said this should be part of everybody's. It shouldn't be one person or one government even doing this, or 2 or 3 people. This should be across the board, and that's where they came up with the idea of the virtual crew member. When you give your $20 or whatever, you can give more, but you get a downloadable certificate that says you're a virtual crew member, not just in paper, but because your name is then on a chip that flies. And you guys heard this speech in December, right? You get to be one of the first people to fly on the first Enterprise in space, and know that you help support all of this that Lynne's been talking about.
And
right,
remember,
because that pays for the ship and the kids' experiments, because one of the key things about the student experiments is that the students don't have to pay to fly their experiment. And that's one of the other differences between us and a lot of other commercial programs right now, where it costs for students and communities to get together to fly a student experiment, or a school even to fly a student experiment. So we're trying.
Blew me away the first time I heard that, Lynne. And as you said the other day, the NASA early programs, taxpayer money, they didn't have to do that. But since we've had so many private groups trying to encourage science, but they're not made out of money. So even when the kids win, or the students, grad students, whatever, win the competition, they have to come up with getting their way there. So
now, from what I've read before, it's supposed to be in orbit for a minimum of a week. Is there any
Correct.
maximum limit that's been set, or is there any maximum limit that's going to be set because of sort of resources within the shuttle itself?
Good question. The minimum is 1 week. We're looking at 2 weeks, which is a typical space shuttle type profile. But if we have the resources to be able to lengthen the mission, to a month, that would be stupendous. So, and there's also the possibility that there could be a secondary, like, daughter spacecraft that comes out, that maybe goes into a higher orbit and stays a little bit longer, that doesn't come back to Earth.
A bit like the captain's yacht.
Yeah. Or you know, in the case of space, it would be more like a CubeSat. You know, and we are planning on sending some CubeSats aboard as well. So it's all over the place. I mean, a lot of it just depends on our resources.
Now, when you talk about orbit of the Earth, what sort of distance are you actually talking? And is there any chance of getting into a sort of a higher orbit for different types of experiment, or are you set with how sort of your distance from the Earth's surface that you're going to be looking at doing your experiments at?
For the first flight of the Enterprise, we will do low Earth orbit. We won't try to go as high as the International Space Station, and they don't want us near them either. not because they
it would be causing
like
an
us.
international incident.
It could be.
A rupture in the space-time continuum.
Right. I mean, what would be the ideal is that this is the first Enterprise in space, but not the last Enterprise in space. And so we would like to be able to reuse this ship if possible, you know, and bring it to higher orbits maybe later and learn from those experiences, or develop a second ship that would go into a different orbit. We'd also, you know, when we think down the line, it's like, can we go to the moon? Can we go to Mars? So those are also some other thoughts and ideas that we have on table 2. But let's get this first one off the ground first.
Yeah.
Remember, only you can send the Enterprise to space.
Exactly.
Now, you've talked about people volunteering and donating. Are there any specific areas that you're really looking for donations, especially volunteering time? Are there any areas that you're really looking to grab people at the moment? Is there anything that's sort of your top sort of 5 or something?
Well, like we said, we can really use some marketing people. I see it as several different levels. On the really high end level, if you really love this idea and you love the sci-fi authors that you read, or you were a NASA kid for 20 years and you want to get that excitement back for the new generation and help that along, and you really want to give some time up, we can use people with legal backgrounds, especially everything from like spacey related things to mundane things like, you know, contracts and more mundane things in the law, trademarks and legal things and merchandise and all that. People in marketing, people, I mean, Lynne's education area is a given, and we need those people. We, all the way down to, and I don't mean to demean this, we need people who can go to their local sci-fi convention, or their local teachers group, or their PTA, or their Lions Club, or, you know, whatever, civic organization, League of Women Vote, whatever it is, church groups. I mean, whatever, whenever there are people that are interested in this kind of thing and are likely to be inspired and go, well, that's cool. And especially if the education part comes down to the local level such that grassroots people are involved with their kids. We can really use people who are excited, who can just go out. No big fancy thing. Just go out and kind of be their local legs. A lot of us, it's my primary job, and a lot of the rest of the team are going to go talk at big events and smaller ones when we can. But we can't get to everywhere, especially if we're talking about around the world. So we could really use people to do that. And even if you don't like talking in front of people, we can use people to go to their local event, whatever it is, and just drop off flyers. You know, just somebody we know we can trust. If you've got an interest and you're going anyway, and hey, maybe would you do that? So yeah, we're looking for a whole spectrum of things people can help with.
Yeah,
did I leave anything out, Lynne?
No, but we do need people to help us. I mean, immediately with PR. Writing press releases and developing press kits and things like that. It's
and being voices on our website and our Twitter. I mean, on Facebook and Twitter and whatever else we've gotten into, YouTube also now. And we also need And this, again, none of this needs to be like any big one chunk on somebody's shoulders, because the more people we have helping, it's like the crowdfunding. The easier it'll be for everybody if we have a lot of people interested. But we want to put up a lot of little short videos. We want to put things of our team, of the people who win our contests, of the kids we're reaching out to, of people. We're starting a podcast called Uplink that will be EIS folks and some of the people who deal with the tangents of what we're getting at. And we just want to have our community grow and have people engaged and have fun. And it's going to be a long 4 or 5 years in one way, but there'll always be something happening. We want to bring people the news of what's happening. You know, so we've got room for people who can do like little internet videos, just be voices on our social media. We could really use those folks too.
And to help coordinate the contests. You know, we want to have these logo contests and little video clip contests and cartoon contests and things like that along the ways that engage everybody. We also really need a volunteer coordinator, somebody who can, you know, take all the volunteers that hit us on our website and engage them, you know, help to engage them and find places for them to fit in where they're comfortable and where they feel like they can really contribute.
Or maybe we can have one or two and they can split it up somehow. But that's what we're really in good need of right now.
And what about sort of globally? Because, of course, a lot of the stuff that you talk about is sort of American-based.
No, it's all globally based.
Okay.
But you're right. That's exactly right. We do need people to do those things in other countries, especially in the non-English speaking world, so that people have a sense of someone locally. And we say locally, well, one person in a whole country may not feel very local, but once you have a beachhead like that, then they can spread out and find like-minded people. Because we know they're all over the world. We know when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, the world stopped and everybody was glued to their TVs. You know, we know that kind of thing happens, and we know, and that's another thing about something like this, that's reaching out to space transcends politics. It transcends national borders. It you know, it literally is the way, you know, and hopefully sooner, but it really is the way of us, you know, where we're going. And it is one of the great things that overcomes divisions within people or just differences among people. And it's just a lovely way for people to get involved all around the world. And I don't know who could say no to that.
Oh, and you know what's really cool? One of the things that we want to do with the education is to have teams of kids from different countries become a team. So you have a kid from India and a kid from Romania and a kid from the US and the kid from the UK, and you know, and they become a team and they develop their experiment virtually. You know, that would be so cool. They use social media and stuff to make, you know, like this, the kid in the UK will, you know, build the camera system, and then the kid in India will, you know, build the sound system or something, and then all the pieces fit together, just like the International Space Station was built. You know, we'll put the pieces together, and lo and behold, they fit.
And you mean they work together like that for something they would submit to fly, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to have competitions that are only for teams like that.
Oh, that's great. That's the first time I'd heard that, but that's awesome, Lynn.
Thanks. It's been on, you know, it's funny because I talk about this so much, and the education program is so robust that half the time I don't remember what I've said, you know, to which audience. So it's really kind of neat, you know, that it came out. And Larry's the first time you've heard it from all the podcasts that we've done together.
Yeah,
you heard it here first, folks.
Yep. But then, you know, as much of a monster as the program is, we do have to have something for all the experiments to go on. So there is the nuts and bolts engineering side, you know, Stanley's design. Fred Becker's our chief engineer. Our person of intent, our launch vehicle of intent is, I think we mentioned all this on our last visit, but SpaceX booster. They've, you know, and SpaceWorks as the fabricator and that would actually build the craft that would go, and then we'll be working on what reentry technology to use, because we've gotten beyond the scope of just having, you know, the blunt-sided heat shield or even the tiles that are form-fitted. They talk about everything from a form-fitted molded heat shield that basically is just you just put the craft in it and like melt it to shape, or they have the thing I learned last week was the was it the parachute, pollute, yeah. It's parachute and balloon, balut, yeah. Balut.
Yeah, balut technology. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, balut technology, which is you know, heat resistant, but it's in the form of a parachute / balloon to come back with. Because that's the thing, it's going to come back, it's going to be on display. The science aboard is going to keep, you know, going till its designed end or be recovered, and then the craft as a little hero is going to make a victory tour and then wind up somewhere on permanent display. And we've first off, start at the top. We started off with talking to Smithsonian Air and Space for its final resting place. But all those people who were our virtual crew, hopefully it will be on tour somewhere. That's a lot of ground, I know, but hopefully they'll be able to see it either on tour or make a trip to see it in its final spot and see their name and know that they really were aboard the first Enterprise in space. But you know, all of that has to be engineered and done as well, and all those people are going to be doing. So it's pretty ambitious across the way. And then a lot of us are just trying to get the story and the message out from, you know, the main chunks of the project. So thank you guys for having us on and letting us share a little more.
Now, are you guys still aiming for a 2018 launch, or has that been pushed back because of anything at all?
We're looking at 2018, 2019, 2020. I think a lot of it depends on how soon we can raise the funding that we need to. I mean, we would love, I mean, our original intent was to have it for the Star Trek anniversaries. You know, the anniversary of the original series and the Next Generation series. And we weren't able to well, we got delayed, let's put it that way. So things had to be pushed back at least to 2018. So that's probably the earliest when we'll be able to launch it, is in 2018. But it may get pushed to 2019.
Have you guys thought about a preliminary stage or a smaller vehicle to go up, or maybe even a satellite to potentially match with the Star Trek anniversary or an earlier date?
You know, we haven't really thought about that. It's a good idea. We'll bring it back to Sean. Sean!
Well, but there's X amount. I mean, the launching, you know, paying the fees aboard the rocket and having any size craft. I mean, there's kind of a cost of scale here involved, where you're almost if you made it smaller and without some of the overhead to it, you'd still probably be paying at least half or more on your budget. So it's like you might as well, yeah.
Yeah,
but that's a great idea. But the other thing is, one thing that is in our favor is that we're just orbiting. It's not like we're trying to do a trip to an outer planet and have to pick up a gravity assist and have to have the planets. And, if we miss this launch window, now we have to wait, 7.4 years.
Yeah.
You know.
It's just, a few years ago, I was at a suborbital conference, and there was sort of an educational thread to it. And a lot of these companies, and, I don't even have to name them, everyone here knows, like SpaceX and a lot of things going on right now. A lot of people are talking about potentially giving seats to educators in these suborbital vehicles. And, that was a couple of years ago. Things were a little more rosy then. But still, there's a lot of activity, and I'd be really interested to know if there was a potential partnership in one of those, just to get some experiments off the ground, or thinking about piggybacking on something like that to get your name out there and get things a little more publicized. It's just fun to think that so much is going on. I mean, you mentioned you're a NASA kid, Larry. I mean, just even growing up with the space shuttle program and seeing that essentially die, it's great to see it's coming back in some way, at least. So it is exciting to see it, and I wonder if there's a way to join with one of those many companies doing that kind of work.
Well, the ones that Sean and Fred and the team have reached out to, Alice and all, that they've been reaching out to. A lot of people are giving us SpaceX and SpaceWorks. People are all excited because they see the long-term, worth. I mean, on the shallow end, there's a great PR benefit to it, but basically, people in all these fields, their heart's in the future, and their heart is in raising the next generation or two, and in moving all of this along as fast as possible, and in thinking that yes, we have lagged on several fronts. We've lagged just on pure science. Part of this for me, and again, this is about as apolitical as you get. But there are times I despair, including a little headline that came out of my home state this week in Oklahoma. There's times when I almost think there's a chunk of, for whatever reason, there's a chunk of in America anyway, of people who almost like want to take us backward, or it's not even a matter of, the old argument.
Larry? I'm so surprised.
I know. Well, the good thing is that the 80% of Oklahoma has kind of shouted it down, but it sure made national headlines for a few days. But my point is that just kind of like I was talking about earlier, there's a silent majority who, just kind of assumes this is where we're going, or they may not feel organized or empowered or whatever to do this or have the voice. And that's what groups like National Space Society or the Planetary Society, some of those groups are trying to be civilian spokesman and civilian, the crass person would say they're lobbyists, but it's such a tiny fraction of the budget that NASA has here in the States. It's kind of a joke to call them, lobbyists, but it's a citizen interest group, and just trying to resurrect that grassroots feeling. I don't know. I'm on a roll here, and I forgot where I was going with this, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That people just feel the need to jump in and do this, and not have it be a high ivory tower thing, to have it reach down to everybody like it was. You were talking about the shuttle. I remember being pissed off because they cut the last 3 Apollo landers for the moon missions for budget. And then Skylab was kind of an in-between thing to keep going, and being mad that the shuttle was, people are so in love with the shuttle, and people sentimentally miss it, and people wish it'd gone on. It's a little like they were going to decommission Hubble early, which was dumb because it would have left like 5 or 6 years before the new one came along. The Next Generation telescope came along, and they go, why are you bringing it down when it's working perfectly fine? It was just some arbitrary budget decision. Well, building the shuttle was the same way. It was going to be bigger and differently, and they kind of made it, where they started calling it the space truck. And I remember being disappointed that, we're just going to orbit. We're not going to the moon and Mars and beyond yet. And we were kind of like taking a back step here, or we're slowing down. But the shuttle did an awful lot of good, and people are just as sentimental about the shuttle, or upset that it was ending when it did, without something clearly right there to go to right next. So I know that feeling. So harnessing all of that feeling from so many people is what, is one thing that we can tap into here. And there's a little bit of an itch there, but there's also, everybody knows there's a practical need to keep the excitement up and also keep the pressure on, that all these things compete for time and money and attention, and that our future, certainly, we need to defend the planet, and we need to not dumb ourselves down, and we need to keep reaching outward. What is it you always say, Lynne?
Sky is not the limit.
Yeah.
That's right.
Risk is our business.
That's why we're aboard her.
Oh, what I love is, and it's funny because I was playing around with I was trying to figure out for some mottos for Enterprise in space. And one of the things I kept coming back to was the undiscovered country. And the whole idea of our knowledge, is going into the wild blue yonder out there, and every time you go a little bit further, and you hit that next little horizon and stuff, you go into a new undiscovered country of knowledge, and that whole idea is just like comes together, and it just plays around in my head all the time. This is what I think about when I can't sleep.
A lot of people know my hero mentor is Will Rogers, and I usually use this line in context with just people or individual people or groups or politics, but it just hit me again that it applies to this. One of his lines I love is he said, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What I always tell my kids is the wise man truly knows what he knows and knows what he does not know.
There you go.
Doing that one for a while.
Try saying that 10 times fast.
I have.
Now,
you know what else is really exciting about Enterprise in space? Is some of the other new technologies that we're looking at. One of the things about Enterprise is besides just for the kids, we also want it to be a test bed for new technologies. There's sort of a catch-22 out there in the space community where in order to get something certified to fly in space, you kind of have to fly it in space to get it certified, but you can't certify it unless it is. So what we were thinking
Makes sense.
Is
Sound
that
familiar?
bureaucracy, right? What we're thinking is that using Enterprise in space as a test bed for some of these new technologies that people have these great ideas for and they want to try and utilize them, but they really have no way of getting into space because they can't, it's just, they won't let them go. So,
yeah.
Without causing danger or anything, make sure that all the safety is there. We want to be able to do that. But one of the really cool technologies that's kind of jumped on board with us lately has been the Enterprise Mind. And this is an artificial intelligence cognitive computing system.
Wait, you mean Skynet?
No.
I knew that was coming eventually.
No, this is very innocuous. I think it's called the HAL system. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's it. It's even better.
Or Mother.
M5. Come on, go for it.
M5.
And just like in Star Trek, if you think about the computer, you can talk to it. It's linguistically operated. And so Enterprise Mind, we're calling her Allie. And Allie is, you're going to be able to talk to her as a virtual crew member. And you're going to be able to interact with her, and she'll be able to interact with you. So the orbiter itself is going to be able to talk to people on Earth and talk to the kids. And so if the kid wants to say, I want to monitor experiment, 25, can you tell me what the pressure and temperature is? The computer will go, the Allie will go, working, and come back with an answer. And that's really neat. That's the kind of technologies, that are really just blowing my mind. And it was funny because they approached us.
I was going to say that really was not in like Sean's kind of original idea, but people keep finding out about us. I guess that to me, we're actually getting the word out finally, but people find out about us and come to us and we're like, oh, okay. Hopefully it's a win-win, and hopefully it's, co-funding and co-partnering and a win-win for both of us.
Sounds like a good idea.
Hello, computer.
A keyboard, how quaint.
Uh-huh. She's down with the quotes.
The orbiter, how many crew is it supposed to hold? Because it's only, or is it to be unmanned?
No, that was just Stanley's dream that his design would hold 150. No, this is totally. If this was not if this was crude, we would not be talking about 40 million. It would be like 1,000 times that. No, environmental engineering, no life support has to go for this thing, unless we have some insects or no, we don't even have that, do we, Lynn? On the experiments,
anything non-vertebrate. So insects are okay. Nobody likes insects anyway.
There we go. Oh, now, boy, you're going to get the mail from the insectophiles.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
The entomologists are going to come after you.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, would they be able to survive the pressure of getting thrusted into space, the little ants and stuff like that?
Well, actually, there was a student experiment that sent cockroaches. I think they sent 6 cockroaches, and all of them
Officially,
died
cockroaches
except
are
for
everywhere
one.
now.
was going to say, we always talk about the only thing that would survive a nuclear war on Earth are the cockroaches, but here we're finally putting some hypothesis to that, some experiments to that.
Well, my kids actually sent mosquitoes in space, so
Can they send them all into space next time, Lynne, please?
But it was fun. I mean, we sent the larva, and the larva grew into skeeters and mosquitoes, and it was. I just enjoyed watching the kids give them blood baths, or blood feedings. They had to stick their hand into the tank and feed the mosquitoes blood.
Now I think I figured out where the big vampire fad trend came from. Your students grew up.
Did they sparkle?
I hope they were up to date with their inoculations for Ross River fever and all that.
So, is there anything else about Enterprise in space that you would like to tell people about?
It's a really cool project, and please jump on board with us. We love ideas and the people that we've been able to meet along the way. This has been just so exciting for us that so many people are excited about it. So thank you, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so audacious, and Sean and everyone he's pulled in, they've rolled out and spread out such an ambitious project, but it's all very doable. It's all very doable, and nothing would define crowdfunding like something like this. That's not about. That's one of the things I like too. It's a little harder because you're fighting some pieces of human psyche. You're the people that love a ticking clock, and we've got 1 week left to go, and we're going to make our goal, and all that kind of Kickstarter-y stuff. But on the other hand, it's laid back, it's relaxed, it's great. Well, not too relaxed because we need the money up front. But I like the fact that it's not all about picking a reward level and hurry up, we've got 1 week left. But we do still have some urgency going on here. We do need to have everybody come on board. But also, one thing we didn't mention was that it helps to get the word out. You guys are being extremely helpful. We've done other interviews and shows. We have our own podcast coming. We have a newsletter now that you can sign up for on the site. But also, we've had some, it always helps to have people in your corner. And so I think I mentioned this in December, but since then, at least, Buzz Aldrin, Hugh Downs, who's covered space flights his whole career as a retired, newsman, communicator. But Nichelle, Nichols, who recruited for NASA, Grace Lee, Walter Koenig, John Billingsley. I mean, we just got started in October. We were just now getting some things ramped up, and so we're still collecting people to be on board with us. I think Tim Russ and Robert Beltran, and hopefully some more people from some of the other recognizable franchises that are out there, pop culture wise, that are big stars. But people from all walks of life, we're going to try to go after to speak up for us. Just to, once you hear about it, you're in with it. But having those folks' name attached, and even in small ways, is great for getting people's attention, and that's what we need now. So, yeah, we've got them on board too. So they're helping us share. Everybody, your $20 virtual crew membership, and even as good as that is, share, retweet. Just help us get the word out. Volunteer at whatever level.
Are there going to be lens flares?
For the $5 million donor, yeah.
So you kept saying that this is not going to be like your typical Kickstarter kind of thing, because obviously it's not Kickstarter. But you could put one stretch goal, and the stretch goal is the future.
Well, we do have one thing we're thinking about.
Was that
adding
too corny?
midway.
I'm sorry.
No, it's a thoughtful thought.
All over that. I hoomed all over it.
I got hoomed by Larry. No. Actually, that's a good thing.
Don't let that be a button. I got hoomed by Larry. That would look a little strange. We're talking also about having some of the experiments will be tethered, right, Lynne? That'll extend on a tether or some kind of a thing outside the craft.
And we have telescoping poles, tethers, and actually we're gonna like a reflective mirror ball so that people on the ground can actually track the Enterprise at dusk and dawn. And so you'll be able to see it while it's in orbit and track it and stuff like that. There'll be activities associated with that too. We'll have track parties.
It's the Enterprise in space with attachment disco ball.
Hmm?
And Captain, it's the Enterprise. But one of the things we can do with that tether for fun and to get people even more kind of jazzed up about it is, on the front end, is to add to the basic help level. If we do have something, not a stretch goal, but if we do have a second level that we might add, is to maybe give more money, or a higher level of giving a donor, but you get your image on a tablet that shows out the portal on the craft, so that when we extend the boom or the tether, we have a camera and we can get a picture of you like waving or just your face looking out the window, and there's real space right over to the side. You know, no CGI, no something funky.
That's cool.
So we can really show that you were aboard the first Enterprise in space.
That'd be nice.
And that's the ticket. Yep. Call it the e-ticket, right?
Huh,
Yeah,
or the E3 ticket.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, I know we could talk about this all day, but thanks for letting us go through. I think we've gone to some corners of EIS where we have not gone before, maybe even. So.
Dun, dun, dun.
And there'll be more. I know there will be. The ideas just keep coming.
Well, you're welcome back at any time to tell us all about it.
I have one question, though, for Lynne. I always ask this for first-timers on Tribbles. You ever tried Vegemite?
I have, in fact.
Oh, what'd you think of it?
Is that answer? It's an acquired taste.
Some people could find it a bit of a quiet taste. People don't like to ignore it because they said, "What is it?" I said, "It's yeast extract from making beer."
I did not know that that's what that really was.
Yeah, it's just leftover yeast extract from making beer, and they send it off to be made into a paste.
Well, you see,
spread on toast.
Now there's a science project. If you send Vegemite to space and it came back, would it taste better?
Well, you could do grape extract, where it's, the alcoholic grape extract. Where I had kids, because we weren't allowed to send wine in space unless it was scientific, we actually went to our local winery and asked them for some samples that we did send, and the kids did chemical analysis on before and after, and that had some really interesting results on that as well. And then
wait.
That gives a whole new meaning to moonshine.
You were trying to send alcohol into space without a scientific purpose.
Well, we couldn't do that. We couldn't do it without a scientific purpose. But the kids thought of one. And so they did chemical analysis on wine.
Because they're clever kids, and they're Lynne's clever kids, of course.
So who got to do the taste test afterwards?
Well, the kids weren't allowed to do the taste test, but we actually did bring it back to the winery, and we let their official taste testers test the wine, and all samples were more vinegary than expected.
How do you think they got the membership of the Gadget Parents Boosters up to like 17,000?
We did? Oh, wow!
I know, dream on.
Actually, I just thought of an experiment. Do you get a hangover when you're in space?
Do you get a hangover?
Yeah. Like, big night last night, and you wake up in the morning with a splitting headache, and I was just wondering if they'll get a headache still in space.
There might be, though there's probably some data out there somewhere on that. I'm pretty sure that NASA, well, maybe not NASA, but the Soviets, Russians, have
vodka.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know,
can see the
in
paper.
America they weren't allowed to send any alcohol at all on the orbiters.
I can see the paper now. The effects of residual alcohol oxidation in a human bloodstream in varying volumes of liters.
Right, but people also get headaches for other reasons too. So.
Oh yeah, I can vouch for that.
I was thinking about what Larry had said, like with the pole outside the shuttle, looking back, a camera looking back at you, like on a tablet in the portal, seeing your face. I was just thinking, man, that'd be kind of cool to have like a Skype call, like you could Skype call the tablet, and then you could actually literally wave, look out into space. But then again, then I thought, well, do you see, now there'd be no Wi-Fi. You'd have to have a really long, Google satellite, There'd have to be a really, really long Ethernet cable.
You can use it as a tether too.
It'd be the first orbital tether, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Now I'm thinking of those Sprint commercials. Can you hear me now?
All sounds like something that some clever student group needs to jump on. I should have said too, in the middle of all that, Lynne, you were doing such an eloquent job of showing all the mind-blowing possibilities that young kids and some of the other like arts fields could be doing. There are probably going to be a few like really hardcore grad student type space experiments included in that mix too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm counting on it. Yeah.
Can't be prejudiced against the mundanes here too much. Or the expecteds, I should say.
Right. Well, CubeSat is such a wave. I mean, it's like the thing to do in space experimentation these days. And
so what is CubeSat, sorry?
CubeSats are cube-shaped spaces that are 10 meters on a side. Or it's 10 centimeters, sorry, 10 centimeters on a side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 10 meters would be big. Woo! And it was actually, it came from Beanie Babies. The whole idea is the Beanie Baby boxes were that size. And Bob Twiggs was an engineering professor, and he thought, gosh, why don't we just make something simple like this for the space, community to do experiments? And that's how it all worked out. So
it's really kind of a standardized crate, like grid cube thing that it's kind of like a standard unit that anybody packing a capsule or a space volume, it's a standard unit they can do, and you can gear your project or your
you can put anything inside that volume.
Yeah, right. But it's a standard thing that everybody's talking the same language and kind of gives people a building blocks thing they can play with, right? When they're planning.
Yeah, so they can standardize the launchers to launch them out of the spacecraft so that you just plug in, as many CubeSats as you want. And, there have been thousands of CubeSats launched, and they're all designed to come back to, through the Earth's atmosphere. So, they'll burn up, and they're all low Earth orbit. But it's really, there are people who are kind of against it because of all the junk, that debris and stuff that go in space because of it. But there's also a lot of positives to it as well. So it gives a real platform to do space technology. So that's
okay.
It's that thing that Kirk pulled out of V'ger. I was trying to remember the doctor's name that got materialized into V'ger. And the commander,
Commander
Decker and Ilea.
Decker, yeah. I couldn't remember Ilea's name.
The doctor. Oh.
Well, she was a doctor. No, she wasn't.
No.
She was a navigator. That's it. You're out of here.
Oh no!
Eject the pod, Finney.
Oh, there's no storm around here.
Anyway, well, guys, I don't want to. I want to make sure we still have an audience awake. So we could go, like I said, we could go on and on like this forever. But hopefully we got some tantalizing bits out there. Main thing is just if every little person, I didn't mean that. If every person in their own little space would just, do their little bit, we would kind of show the world what crowdfunding was really all about. Nothing's ever been attempted on that.
It is about the little people.
You love me. You really love me.
It's about the little people sending the Enterprise into space.
Actually, it is.
Doing the things our governments can't do.
Or won't do.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share with you. And
it's been a pleasure, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Be careful what you wish for.
Lieutenant.
That's why we wish them.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Lynne. It's very much appreciated.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Larry, before you go, Trekland. Anything been going on with that recently at all?
No, it's pretty boring here. I'm just, I had to set my alarm and wake up out of hibernation to come talk to you guys today. So thanks for that too.
No problem.
No, I'm kidding. No, I mean it's kind of the off season, but I went to Gallifrey one last week weekend in LA here, which is nominally I should say, a big Doctor Who convention. But Sean, the main honcho there, always has me and other people come from different. Honcho?
The main who?
The main honcho? Head honcho? Main
he
honcho?
wants you to say
no.
The main
He's
who?
making a doctor reference.
Yeah. Just let him have his fun.
I just plowed right through that sucker. Okay.
See, I got you back from taking my card a minute ago.
The who? The what? The what?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yes, baby. No, the I love the crossover. Some of the Who Trek crossover things I've seen. Like I saw, Miles in his Tribbles booth that David Gerald has, and the guy he had a great new T-shirt that said it was for the Who crowd there, and it said, "You never forget your first Doctor. Mine was McCoy." Anyway,
and
so
IDW did the comic books with the crossover between Cyberman and the Borg.
Yep. I always wanted to see, before that came out, I always wanted to see a crossover where a Dalek came rolling down a hall going, "Assimilate, assimilate, assimilate." But anyway.
Oh gosh, that'd be cool.
That that was, well, it wasn't supposed to be cool. It's just a bad joke, but okay, it can be cool. It can be cool. So, no, we're gearing up for con season. I'm going to be doing a lot of Enterprise in Space talking this year, but we've got another on-speaker CD coming out for Vegas. It's not the year for the big, you mentioned before, Geek Nation Tours LA to Vegas tour. We're gonna wait and do it in the anniversary year next year, the 50th anniversary year, which is already melting down my brain with all the things people are talking about doing. We're going to have a big tour next year so people can start saving their pennies, and we're going to have a San Francisco component to it.
What San Francisco component?
We're going to have some stops in San Francisco as an add-on for people that want to do that.
I think the Dalek is actually trying to assimilate you right now. Does nobody else hear the buzzing?
Yeah, I heard it.
Phone vibrating.
That's my wife calling me is actually what that was. I'm not about to call her a Dalek.
So it is a Dalek.
Oh, you said that, not me.
Oh.
Don't say that. She's still got to cook you dinner.
No, probably I'll go out for dinner and get it.
Quick, ask her if she had Vegemite.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I know you guys have to get to news, but I'm just trying to go through things here. So, no, one thing is I've been working out of Trek that might cross back to it, aside from Enterprise in Space and the convention circuit. And I'm actually going to do a Skype call with a Dublin fan club at the end of this month, and I'm doing a Skype call like Leonard did at First Contact Days convention at the end of March. And then Salt Lake City's literary convention called Conduit, and SciFiCon in Lake Charles, Louisiana, SoonerCon back home in Oklahoma City, and WonderCon perhaps, but also Comic-Con San Diego and Vegas Trek and all those guys. I think I'm leaving one or two out. I should have had these listed out. But they're all on my site, LarryNemecek.com, and Larry Nemecek's Trekland Facebook, and at Larry Nemecek on Twitter. We're working back on the Con of Wrath, which kind of goes along, kind of relaxedly, my documentary. But we're about to get a couple more great names on camera that I can't say yet. I'm always not eager to jinx anything until it actually happens. So that. And if anybody wants to toss a little coin in on that, that's great. I don't have a Kickstarter, but I have an ongoing page with some rewards on it. And even I've had fans jump up and they've been helping me transcribe some of the interviews. And if you want to do that, go over there. And then the Trekland trunk, where I'm getting rid of my storage locker and getting some things out to fans, like studio stuff, scripts and set plans, and old promotional googie things and that kind of thing. That's my Facebook. You just go there, you sign up, and then you hear when something comes out. And we have a live Sunday bid. I just found a poster that was the 20th anniversary of Pocket Books' license for the Trek books, and it was a poster from 1999 that had every cover of every fiction and nonfiction book on this poster, which was pretty awesome. And I know the people who are big old-time reader fans of Trek novels and things, I want to make sure they knew about that, and they're jumping aboard. But that's this Sunday, so... But yeah, you just go over there and and I don't have to feel like a slimy used car salesman to tell people about it. They can just, if they care, they know, and if they don't have to deal with it. So anyway, guys, I think I'm going to have to run, but thank you so much for having Lynne and me on, and
pleasure as always.
Just following my stuff, and I look forward to the Skyping with people in the UK and in another month, and at First Contact Day, and then on down the road.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we'll hopefully catch up with you again soon.
Okay, guys.
Yes,
thanks so much,
soon.
and thanks for helping support Enterprise in Space, because it's all about getting the word out and getting people excited and letting them know what they can do with that excitement. So we can take it in all kinds of ways.
Definitely.
Thanks again, Larry.
Thanks.
See you.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Yep.
Now, on to Star Trek Online news. We've got a couple of things that are happening this weekend. So, by the time this is released, it'll be almost over. First of all, we've got the Shuttle Weekend event. So, there's 2 missions that are now in the PvE queues.
Yes, its atmosphere assault is being promoted from its normal place, and the shuttle version of the Fleet Alert.
That's right.
Which is the 5-man queue normally.
I was hoping that they'd do some more, because they'd also got the shuttle storming the Spire, I believe. As well as the Vault, but I was hoping they would do the No-Win Scenario shuttle, but they didn't bring that one back.
That'd be cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Was it 5-man or 20-man?
It was the standard amount, which was 5. Rightly. I only got to run it the once. What did I can't remember now. I know I went to run it once. So many things happen. It all sort of merges into one eventually.
He fried his prawn.
Yeah. There's a 20% Lobby sale at the moment. So, again, that'll be ending on Monday, 23rd of February. Most of the ships and uniforms should be discounted by 20% apart from the new Vardwar ones. Also remember that we've got the anniversary event itself that'll be ending soon. So you've only got a week left of that. That ends on Monday, March the 2nd. So that'll be the last chance you have to earn your anniversary commendations, which will go towards getting the Kabali cruiser that you see in the Dust to Dust featured episode.
Do you guys have that yet?
Yeah, I haven't actually opened it up.
I did. It's a slow turner. You need some special stuff.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at it. It's not my cup of Earl Grey tea, you know what I'm saying? Because I is a Federation captain, and I fly the grandiose Federation starships.
Yeah, I do too, but I wanted to try a command slot, and it has one. So it's kind of cool. I like it. I've been using it, but yeah, I needed that RCS console to help me turn it. It is kind of a big behemoth. In a weird way, it looks like an alien head if you look on it from the front.
Well, isn't this what the anchor trait is for that you can buy off the exchange? And then you just park it and it turns into this massive tank?
I don't have that, but I'm not surprised by that. Yeah. It's very tank-like.
But yeah, there's also the Omega Molecule minigame and the Kabali uniform costume report.
Can I ask something about the Omega Molecule minigame? And
Go ahead.
Please tell me if I'm being an idiot. Is there any reason to get a high score on that game?
You're an idiot.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's basically like the dilithium minigame. The higher your score is, the more stuff you'll get out of it.
Okay, so what's the minimum that you have to get before you get more stuff? Is it 800?
I believe at 1,000 you get 2. At 1,300 you get 3. At 1,600 or 650 you start getting the slivers and then the particles as well.
Got it.
How high can it go up?
I've gotten to around 2,100.
Oh my god!
And that's well, again, you're talking to a person who's playing on very minimum settings and has got the render scale like turned all the way down in the slider bar. That's just to be able to keep up with it, because I have trouble logging into the game to begin with. So getting that high of a score, you probably get, well, I usually get a sliver and about 2 or 3 particles.
If you go back and watch last week's episode, it was the first time I actually did the particle traces, and you know, I honestly didn't know what I was doing, but I figured it out after a while, and the live stream, the chat channel just went nuts when I got like 8,000.
Oh my god, 8,000!
I thought somebody said to me that the highest you could get was 2,400 or something.
Yeah, 2,500 is the max cap, because that is the complete and total amount of particles.
I got 8,000.
Oh my god! I don't know what you're smoking.
That must have been bugged.
No, he got 1,800 is what he did.
Was it that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was. Somebody went, "How did you even get?
Oh wow!
How did you get 1,800?" But this was also just after they had reconfigured the scaling system as well.
So what's the doodad R&D nugget that you get once you put in 3 fragments or whatever?
We're talking about my nugget.
It's a tech upgrade. It's a tech upgrade.
Is it like universal or something?
Yes, yes, it's a universal. Okay. It's a universal tech upgrade, but it essentially gives you double the research and double the tech bonus. It's basically a big, huge 4-pack booster to try and color up your upgrades.
Yeah.
And it has no dilithium cost.
What? That's pretty. I better get good at that stupid game. I think I've gotten like 800 at best. I'm like, what? I like set it and then I just walk away because I don't need to get a higher score because I barely can get over 800. But maybe I'll be.
Here's
the thing. What are you using when you play it?
So I've used the keyboard, but I usually use the mouse. So I know I should
use the mouse. Yeah, just click on it.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Because Cookie.
Or it's not even. No, it's not even. You don't even have to click on it. Just hover over the little particle on the side.
No, but you know, like after a little bit, I get bored. So, meh.
Yeah, because Cookie came in the chat and told me, use your mouse, because I was used to using this, scan the particles or whatever, like the normal mini game. So you have to use the thingies. I'm really good at that. I'm like,
the only way you could be able to use a keyboard on that is if they stacked those particles, like the particle scanning.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, the mini game will be disappearing on the 2nd of March.
But it may not be disappearing for a whole year.
Right.
The devs have said that they wanted to bring it back because it seemed so successful.
Yeah, but not only that, the particles themselves will be staying, I believe.
Yes, the particle crafting will go into its own special tab.
Yeah, so you'll have your own little school that you can process it in.
Huh.
Yeah, the surprise visit of Captain Gecko on the upcoming episode of Priority 1, he said that it's now going to be part of the R&D, this Omega particle collecting thing.
Do you guys think they did that because people were whining about the severe dilithium costs of R&D?
Possibly.
Could be anything, but I'm a bit worried actually about how they made a move with this Omega particle.
Why?
Well, it's one thing I've really noticed is it seemed to have a big decline on the PvE queued events. So it's
but that's the same with every event. Whenever there's an event going on, there's always a decline in the PvE.
Knowing this particular Omega thing is now the big thing and hell of a lot easier to do and get and whatnot to upgrade, to do tech upgrades and stuff like that with your ship and ground stuff. I think it's a big draw card to everyone be doing that now more than playing the PvE queued events.
Unless they actually make it an event, because I don't know, an Omega outbreak somewhere in the universe.
Oh well, I suppose we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
But with the anniversary event as well will be the discontinuation of the Kabali uniform costume for the Dust to Dust featured episode. So it'll just be the space set that you'll be able to get from it.
Now, is there a warp core with the space set?
Yeah, no, the warp core comes with the ship.
Yeah, warp core comes with the ship.
Yeah.
Better get that chip, Xander.
Yeah.
Get scanning, boy. So there is that. As we mentioned about Dust to Dust, the final set piece has been added to the rewards as of Thursday. So you now have the full space set available upon completion. There was a blog out regarding the art of the command ships. Have you guys had a chance to look through that?
Did they talk about the nacelles and why they made them like that?
I haven't actually had a time to read it myself personally, but there's lots of pictures of the artwork and it sort of explains.
It does on the Federation and on the Romulans, because the other two have 4 nacelles. The Romulan ships also have 4 nacelles, but people don't really realize that they're 4 nacelles because it's a secondary nacelle attached to the main nacelle.
Okay.
Sure looks like the Klingons have 4 nacelles too.
Yeah. All of the ships have 4 nacelles.
It's just harder to see on Romulans. I don't
I
look
just
at
noticed
non-Federation ships.
Yeah, I just noticed that the new C-Store Federation ship The Concorde is not in Earth space dock. Normally, whenever they put a new ship up on the Zen store, they usually go right in the where the window is.
Well, the Kamari wasn't in dry dock.
No, the Kamari. What's that?
The Andorian.
Well, that's not a Starfleet ship.
Yeah, but it is Federation.
Yeah, but it's not Starfleet. If you look in here, all the latest Starfleet ships are in here, right? But yeah, the new Concorde
there's
is a
actually
Starfleet.
3 new ones now. So.
Yeah, but they put the Vesta when the Vesta came out. They put the Vesta, in here.
Yeah, but the Vesta design itself was one ship. It had 3 different setups, and yes, they were slightly different. But these ones are 3 complete different ships, aren't they?
No, but they're all interchangeable. It's just like the Vesta. 3 different ships, 3 different roles, and you can all intermix them just like the Vesta. The Vesta had 3 different ships, 3 different roles.
Might be added later on. But no, I do like the Romulan images. Especially the bottom one with the cube. It looks like it's just swooping down. Bird, prey. Does look good. So yeah, links will be in the show notes. So if you haven't seen that already, you can check it out. Had a quick look through the release notes for Thursday. There's been a load of fixes, but I didn't sort of see any sort of big game-changing notes in there. Did anybody else notice anything at all?
I haven't looked yet, honestly.
Okay.
In the release notes, probably the usual system fixes.
Oh, there's a lot on the ship stuff, the space set for Cavalli.
Yeah. So everything just looked like sort of standard fixes that you'd expect to see after things like that being released. But nothing that I could notice that were sort of big things that we've been waiting for a very long time for. It's always good that they're doing fixes. Okay, well, anybody got any other news that they want to bring up before we finish up this evening?
Woohoo! 1,200 points.
Stop rubbing it in.
Yeah, I was thinking could hold off until next week, but I was thinking talk about the calendar that's been pretty well loaded up until next month now, because the Crystalline event is coming out next month, plus a couple other events.
Well, actually, Xander, you're in game. Do you want to bring up the calendar? Because yeah, you're right. There has been a load of things that have been added.
Since you finished getting the Omega marks.
Dun dun dun!
No, you guys, you can actually do better at the mini games if you kind of force your graphics settings down in the display options.
Heavens.
If you go into your display options and turn the resolution scale all the way down, because there's that little slider, you will actually do 10 times better at most of the mini games.
So how does getting rid of your graphics make it easier to do the games?
Because the system isn't processing all the stuff to make everything look pretty. So it's actually helping the game run faster.
But wouldn't the thing go by faster?
No, because you can actually keep up with it instead of it skipping.
Yeah, that annoying skip once the molecule collapses. I hate that.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, so I'm looking at the calendar.
So did you want to let people know what the events are that are coming up?
Okay,
and through into next month.
Oh, we're already past the show. So on starting the 19th to the 23rd is the shuttle weekend. Earn extra reward by playing the shuttle queued events, all through that week. Then starting on the 26th on through to next month, earn bonus skill points and experience this weekend. So you can get all kinds of cool stuff that way. So if we switch into March, that'll continue on to also at the beginning of March, you also have, click on this here, the bonus experience weekend again. So you have that. Awesome. There's also, starting March 2nd, is also the Foundry Weekend, running from that, March 2nd, that Monday, to that Friday. And
Thursday.
Thursday,
see,
sorry.
I told people it was coming up. No, Friday is the end of the Foundry mission, but that Thursday after patch is the beginning of Crystalline Cataclysm, which I told people was coming back.
Excuse me, this is my job. This is my only job.
I didn't put you in a corner.
So what she said, and then Hearts and Mind is coming back sometime next month.
Because we had Friday the 13th in February. March is a repeat of February.
Mm-hmm. So that brings you into March, and then we'll talk about March when March happens. So somebody jumped the gun!
It's good to let people know about it in advance.
Yep.
Always want that handy.
Yeah, keep forgetting to check the calendar.
Hearts and Minds is also stacked on top of a bonus Marks weekend as well.
I haven't run Hearts and Mind for a couple of years now.
Because really, how many advisor duty officers do you actually need?
I think I've already got about 8 of them. I just thought I don't need more. I've only got like 30 slots free for the duty officers, so I stopped running it. But I've got so many other characters. I'm thinking I really should do it on those ones, and it's just like, okay, I'll try and remember this weekend. And the thing is by the time I've done the podcasting and everything else, I think, right, Friday 13th mission. Damn it, it's finished.
Well, that's why they started doing it on Thursdays, I believe. Starting at 6 or 7 p.m. on Thursday evenings. Because they did it just a while ago.
Yeah, but the problem is I've been so busy at work that I've been late back, so I've been signing in, quickly do the dailies, and then it's just like, must remember to do it on Friday before the show or after the show, and it never quite works out.
But speaking of all this remastering content, there's something to remaster. I mean, we literally have the Spectres episode, in like the beginning Fed missions. That's literally scarier than this mission. This mission isn't even a thriller kind of mission at all. It's just kind of a filler mission.
But yeah, it will also be good if they could remaster it, is to add some more random elements to it as well. Make it a little bit different each time it was run.
At least now I don't have to put on my EV suit when I play it. I could just put on a rebreather.
Rebreather?
Yes, remember the Romulans got the rebreather in the Alachi arc? Yeah, there's a thing now where Federation and KDF can actually get those rebreathers.
I don't actually remember getting that in the Romulan arc.
It was aboard the it was the first time you story moded Atmosphere Assault on the little colony. The colony gave you those rebreathers, and the next mission was you boarding an Alachi station.
I remember the Alachi station, but yeah.
Yeah, you'd equip those rebreathers instead of having an EV suit.
Yeah, I shall have to go back and have a look. Been concentrating on my main Federation for so long now that I shall add it to my list of things to play. Trying to do the dust to dust at the moment, trying to get all the rewards. So I'm on the third. I'm partway through the third playthrough at the moment. So.
I'm not going back through that mission until
fast.
I'm not going back through that mission until I have the Kobali ship.
Oh yeah.
I did it in what 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's really fast now.
Well, the second playthrough that I did, because of course the first one I did at normal, so the second one I did all the hard options. So I'll do the very hard on the next one. But I'm also wanting to get all the accolades that go with it. So
I do believe that those accolades will still be available.